Welcome to episode 2 of season 3 of the Subway Conversation Chat. I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, ready to talk some New York Yankees and New York Mets baseball with you all, and my co-host, Joe Dalio. So, without any further ado, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going? Haven't seen you since backstage.
Right? It seems like ages ago, right? That's seconds ago. But I'm doing great, Jamie. How's everything going there?
I was good. As we mentioned backstage, both of our teams are off. The Yankees are 3-1, and the Mets, I believe, are 3-1, right?
Yeah, I was going to say a combined 6-2. So so far, both New York teams playing great baseball and off to great starts. So we'll see if they can keep that going this week here.
Yeah, you know what? I give the Mets credit. You know what? You said that they were gonna, try to find ways. So they knew last year when Soto was there that somebody like Pete Alonso was extendable, right? Or expendable. So they let him go, and they tried. And you said, okay, we're just gonna build a new core of guys around Soto, and you said, and so far I think that's paying off. And the Yankees re-signed Bellinger, so it's paying off for both of us.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll talk about that. Some of the players are already fitting in, making big impacts. Some of them not so much yet. But again, I like what I see so far.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna start off this week with the Yankees injury report, but most of this is positive because it's the two the two star pitchers that you were expected to start at the beginning of the year. But here we go. We're gonna start with left-handed pitcher Carlos Rodon. He had a left elbow operation cooperation. On March 24th, which was last Tuesday, he threw around 50 pitches in a live batting practice, which marked his third time pitching against live batters since his October surgery. That's not bad, though. Already throwing 50 coming off of surgery like that. That's a good pitch count. So that's a good October sign.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good sign. He's throwing that many, yet alone throwing to begin with, which is good. Mm-hmm. And it's just like Cole, where his velocity still, where it is, it's still 93, 94 on his four-seamer, so that's good. Mm-hmm. And on March 24th, I already said that, whoops. The lefty had surgery to shave a bone spur and is following up his rehab in Tampa, Florida. His expected return, May. It's gonna be May. Anyway, not Drake May. Anyway. That's a different sport. Number 2, we have Garrett Cole, right-handed pitcher, who is trying to recuperate from having Tommy John surgery. He started in 2 Grapefruit League games and will be available to pitch in game opportunities to include the minor league. So another rehab stint for him. That'll be a good thing. And he had Tommy John surgery March of last year, and he's expected to return in either May or June. Number 3, I think is like a Where's Waldo injury. It's Anthony Volpe, the shortstop. Where's Volpe? Anyway, he had left shoulder. He is trying to recuperate from left shoulder surgery. But the good news is he's taking part in all defensive and base running activities while hitting overhand pitches, so softball style pitches or 1800s baseball overhand pitches, right? He could proceed to live at-bats at any time in the near future, so that's good. But he had surgery on October 12th, and his respected return is no earlier than May. So now I'm going to turn it over to you, Joe, for some Mets news. Joe?
All right, thanks, Jamie. Good stuff for the Yankees so far. Now, not too much as far as news concerned with the Mets. I'm going to talk about a couple of old friends here and just some interesting stuff that's happening with them. Some guy named Tommy Pham, who's been kind of making the tour around Major League Baseball the last few years. He played with the Mets not too long ago, I don't think, but they signed him to a minor league contract. So we'll see if anything comes about with that. Excuse me, but I thought this was interesting. They gave JD Martinez a job, not as a player, but actually as a special assistant, advisor kind of position. He's not officially retired yet, so I guess this will last as long as he doesn't get picked up by another team. He hasn't played since the 2024 season when he played with the Mets, and they were really impressed with his leadership ability, especially as they made that run towards, at the end of the year. So they gave him this job to work with guys, especially like Vientos, who he had a good influence on when he was with the team, playing with the team. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of contributions, he can make. Now, injuries for the Mets, nothing, too earth-shattering yet, which is good. A couple of things to mention. AJ Minter, the left-handed pitcher, had left lat surgery, and he is expected back early May. And like Jamie said, it's going to be May. Well, first it's going to be April, believe it or not. Justin Hageman, who gave him some valuable innings last year, has a fractured rib. He's on the 60-day IL and not scheduled to come back till June. And they do have three pitchers who have been a solid part of this team for the last few years that will not be pitching for them in 2026. Now, I may have mentioned this already, but Tyler McGill, Reed Garrett, and Dediel Nunez all had Tommy John surgery, so all will not be expected to be back with the team until 2027. Of course, McGill, part of the starting rotation, Reed Garrett, one of the core relief pitchers, as was Nunez. So again, that's the last I'll mention them, unless something comes up, unless there's other news with them. But they will not be pitching with the Mets in 2026. Hopefully, somebody will be pitching with the Mets in 2027, but we won't talk about that potential of what might happen or might not happen in 2027. But that's it, really, as far as news. And hopefully we can keep these injury reports short. So far, everybody good. Francisco Lindor not showing any negative effects from that hand fracture that he had. So everybody looks good so far. And hopefully, again, we can keep this injury report short. So I am going to send it back to you now, Jamie, for some more Yankees information and updates.
Okay, so we're going to actually start out Yankees making history. Tic-tac-toe, 3 in a row. Uh-huh. Even though they've won the most championships than any other team in professional sports, the New York Yankees just love to keep making more franchise history. For the third consecutive year, the Yankees swept their opening day series.
Wow.
Yeah, you bet. Wow. In 2024, the Yankees began 4-0 by sweeping the once mighty Houston Astros on the road. In 2025, the Yankees with their torpedo bats.
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever happened with that story, right? That just blew over.
I forgot about that. So I guess a lot of people did.
Yep. Well, I just brought it up again. Anyway, with their torpedo bats, swept the Milwaukee Brewers 3-0 at Yankee Stadium when Nestor Cortez was pitching for them last year.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, then this year, the Yankees set the historical moment by blanking the San Francisco Giants 3-0, marking the first time the Yankees have ever swept their opening day opponent 3 years in a row. It is not just that the Bronx Bombers swept the Giants, but it's also how they swept them compared to last year's series against Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
In 2025, the Yankees used their bats literally and power hitting. Although the Yankees, I think, have been doing that for years. Every year they lead the league in home runs. So, to throttle the Brewers. But what do we say, Joe? The Brewers once again became one of the NL's best squads again after they swept them. So
and everybody expected them to be a non-factor last year.
Yep. Against San Fran, though, the Yankees did it with their pitching, but not just with any type of pitching, Joe. How about doing it by only rolling with a 4-man rotation to start out the year, which you said might be a good thing because I think in 162 games where a lot of your starters don't go deep early. I think it's about you got to play the long game. It's like you only go with 4 to start out the year, and then once your other guys get healthy, it'll actually help the other pitchers get used to going deeper in the games later in the year. That's what I think they're Yankees are trying to do. It's playing the long game, like maybe not have their starters go deep earlier in the year, but when everybody comes back later in the year might be a possibility. And I wonder if other teams who would have the same problem, I wonder if other teams are going to start catching on to that, because you know how baseball's a trend, and like if the Yankees are doing, somebody else is going to want to do that,
Yeah.
They want some of the Yankee sauce with secret sauce with that.
Well, especially if it works.
Yeah. So far it has. Because like I said, it's playing the long game in a 162 game season with load management and everything. It's a smart move. Anyway, if the Yankees could get by the first part of their season with just 4 healthy, but obviously quality arms, they are quality arms, which is a good thing. Then this team could challenge for a World Series spot when the reinforcements return in the lineup, and I honestly believe they could. We'll see. So, Joe, how impressive is it that of all these World Series championship years, never until this year was the first time they swept their opponents 3 straight seasons on opening day, because they never did that even during the years where they won all the chips.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that, but that's very impressive. And again, like you said, doing it in different ways, pounding out home runs like they're going out of style one year, and then, giving up 1 run in 3 games, the next year. So not only doing it 3 years in a row, which is impressive for anybody, but, and again, I would have thought maybe that in their past and that excellent history that they would have done that at some point. So it's amazing it took until now. But still, again, just the different ways they were doing it, bombing out hits one year and then just not giving up any hits or runs the next year. Very impressive.
It was kind of the opposite, though, back in the World Series. Just remember, they would start out, they were like the Brewers. They would start out bad and everybody would write them out, but then that $300 million talented payroll roster would all come together. So
it always happened, didn't it? And they do it differently these days, but it seemed to be a pattern. People that rooted against the Yankees would get excited. It's like, oh, this is the year the Yankees are going to fade away. They'd be, a couple of games over 500 at Memorial Day, and then they'd go between July and August. They'd go like, 55-5 throughout the summer, and then run away with the division again and play like the Yankees that we all knew.
So anyway, how about the Yankees also doing this, like I said, with just 4 guys in the pitching rotation to start off the year, and having their 5th guy, Luis Hill, be a potential call up from the minors.
And it's different ways of doing it too. Like I was mistaken the way the Mets were going to do it, and I'll share that when I go over the Mets info. But interesting how different teams do it. And again, if, like you said before, if this 4-man rotation works for a team like the Yankees, other teams are going to watch and may follow suit. And again, they're going to have these other arms stocked up, ready to go, ready to pitch big innings potentially later in the year, especially if they stay healthy. Or get healthy.
Guess what? Every league's kind of it's always a copycat league. One team starts something and then other teams do it. All of our major league sports are like that now. They're all copycat leagues.
Yeah, between 3-point shooting or between the neutral zone trap, and different things like that. Yeah, you're right. Teams tend to copy.
Yep. Or the Philly special for a little bit, and now the tush push, So
and there you go. Yep. Forgot about that.
Or the Wildcat for a little bit when Miami started that, but still. But they say that for college now because they realize in the NFL defenders are too quick to defend that. You can run that in college because they're not as quicker to defend it. So
right.
Anyway, here we go. Get ready for puns, Joe, because this you're gonna like this one.
Hey, I am always in favor
Yep.
of puns.
Yep. Yankees' young arm improves a little bit at a time instead of a little bit at a time. I think you know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
Cam Schlittler.
Yep.
The Yankees version of Paul Skeens, he throws 100 too. So
no Schlitt. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
1 month ago, someone recommended that Yankees manager Aaron Boone rest his young pitcher's arm, but the always well-spoken manager, especially on a lot of topics, Aaron Boone, replied that he wouldn't be upset if Cam Schlittler threw 70 pitches, and he said he would take that.
Mhm.
On Friday night, Schlittler was on his game with 8 punch-outs over 5 1/3 innings on a limited pitch count. The Yankees cruised to a win over the San Francisco Giants 3-0, and we have a quote. I was trying to be as efficient as possible, seeing how far I could get, Schlittler said. The pitch count was out of my control. It's partially my fault because I had that little setback, or a Schlittle setback, but I'll just keep building from this week to next week. Schlittler only threw a one-hitter, which was a double to Helio Ramos in the second inning. However, he did not let up a walk and struck out 49 batters out of the 68 pitches he threw. The bullpen also did their job as well, tossing 3 2/3 hitless and scoreless innings. And we have a quote from the manager's quote. To get into the 6th inning really set us up, Boone said. And then the pen was outstanding. Each guy, I thought, did a really nice job. It really was a good win. Schlittler's spring was paused as his back was barking, as Michael Kay would say, was barking, meaning injured. Not like the dog, folks. Was barking in February, but that is now water under the bridge. Also a figurative, not literal term. Along with Max Fried's scoreless outing on Wednesday, Schlittler and him became the first Yankees 1-2 punch to begin a season with no runs given up since the Rocket, Roger Clemens, and Andy Pettin in 2003, as per MLB Sarah Langs.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. The Yankees made more history by opening the season with consecutive shutouts for the first time in franchise history. And we have a quote from Belly, the re-signed fresh off his new contract, Belly. It has been very impressive, Cody Bellinger said. Obviously, Max doing what he does and then being in center field for Cam's start today. He just pitched really well. He located all 3 fastballs, threw a bunch of curveballs, and just pounded the zone. He's been really fun to watch. The Yankees wanting a whole year of Schlittler is why they decided to run it back in 2026 with them. Schlittler turned into a rookie star when he was called up in the second half of the season last year to replace Marcus Stroman, who they released. He was 4-3 with a 2.96 ERA in 14 regular season starts, and then pitched the game of his life to send the Red Sox home in Game 3 of the AL Wildcard Series. Imagine that you got called up in the second half of the season, and as you're pitching in Game 3 of the wild card as a rookie, and you send the Red Sox home. That's a pretty good accomplishment.
That's a very nice way to start your career.
Yep. Kind of like Verlander doing it to the Yankees in 2006. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
With Schlittler shutting the Giants batters down on Friday, hitting, guess what, Joe? You know I love my velocity, 100.1 miles per hour. You know I love that. 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, right? While mixing in a cutter and sinker with his four-seamer, he may be taking a step further this year, or a Schlittle step further this year. And we have another quote from Belly. He's just a guy that wants to be better every time, Bellinger said. He's learning, and he's just a great guy to have in his clubhouse. He's learning a Schlittle at a time. Sorry.
Now, Belly didn't say that, did he?
No. I made that up.
That would have been hilarious if he did.
Yep. While he's picking it up a Schlittle, the Yanks also were happy of Camille Doval's performance. Doval instead of Duval, who struck out the side 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 8th. The former Giants closer struck out the side in just 12 pitches, showing off his adjustments to his sinker and slider. And we have a quote, that's what it looks like when he's rolling, Boone said. Doval pitched to a 4.82 ERA. In 22 appearances after being acquired at last year's trade deadline, but this year, after a full offseason with the team, he said he's used to his new teammates and is more comfortable, being with a new team to start out the year instead of, having to be with the Giants and then moving in the middle of the season. And we have a quote here. It's like joining a new family, Doval said to his interpreter, Marlon Abreu. You start adapting to get a good rhythm of how things work out here. I'm feeling more comfortable trying to do my job and really focus on the work. Good attitude to have. So, Joe, how about Cam Schlittler still being a lead and going into the 6th inning despite being on a limited pitch count? So what do you think? You would have thought on a limited pitch count he wouldn't go past 5 innings, but he did. He went 1 out into the 6th. So I guess that shows you he's tough and resilient.
Well, I was going to say, and what it shows is how effective he was, because a pitcher on a pitch count and a pitch limit like you're talking about doesn't go beyond that unless they're doing something really well. So kudos to him. He deserved that. And obviously they saw something that merited keeping him in. So he definitely earned that extra time that he got to stay in that game.
Well, you know what it was? He was still throwing 99 and 100 on his 4-seamer. So it didn't mess up his velocity, which was a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think of Camille Duval's attitude that he's now used to being with the Yankees, from day one now instead of last year?
Yeah, you want to hear that from a young player, right? You want that kind of attitude, and just shows a lot about his character, I believe. I don't know too much about him, and thanks to you and other information.
They got him from the Giants last year. He's a bullpen pitcher.
Excellent. But yeah, definitely you love to hear stuff like that.
And I don't know if you ever watched him pitch, but what he does is he got in a lot of trouble for this last year. Like, he throws 99 to 100, but he has a tendency to milk the pitch clock all the way down to 1 second. And when he was with the Giants, he had the most pitch clock violations because of that, but he's still able to throw 99 when he doesn't do that. So, are you concerned that that still may happen to him? That he's usually, these pitchers are very fast and they'll pitch quick, but he's more old school where he tries to milk the pitch clock a little bit. Are you concerned that he does that though?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't be concerned about that. It's funny that you say that though, because I was watching a few games over the weekend and I noticed a few pitchers doing that. They'd just be standing there, because in the past, when a pitcher stood there for several seconds, the batter would step out. But I think these pitchers are realizing that the batter can't step out most of the time, or they don't want to because they only get the one timeout, per at bat. So I noticed that. I don't know if it was, beyond, what I had seen in the past, but there was a few pitchers that were doing that. They would stand there for a few seconds, stand still before they threw the pitch. So I don't know if that's going to become a trend as we go forward. It remains to be seen. But no, I wouldn't be concerned about Doval doing that or creating problems because of it.
Because like I said, when he was with the Giants, he had the most pitch clock violations doing that though too.
Yeah, you may see a couple initially, but he'll learn. And it sounds like he's smart enough to know that, to how to handle the pitch clock and work with it.
Yeah. See, you know what, though? You know why I think a lot of pitchers are doing that? Because I think they're realizing when you face an Ohtani or some of these big boys, you don't want to just go up there and throw it because he may jack it out. But if you do it the old school way where you milk the clock, it's like you give time, you give Ohtani or like Raleigh or these guys to, think about it a little bit more. And it's playing mental games with them like that, I think.
Right. And they know, again, that the batter can't just step out whenever they want. So that remains, again, to see if more pitchers work with that.
Yeah. Okay. And then now let's turn it back over to you, Joe, for some more Mets highlights. Joe.
All right. So a good week, as we said. The Mets went 3-1, outscoring their opponents 22-14 during the first week of the season. That average is about 5.5 to 3.5. Now, again, as I said in the beginning, some of these new folks are making their presence known. How about Luis Robert Jr., who had a home run and 5 RBIs this week? And that home run was a walk-off home run in Game 2 against the Pirates. So, he's made his presence known very quickly, a 1,200 OPS to start the season. Now, some familiar players here for the Mets. Francisco Alvarez leads the team with a 1,278 OPS. How's that for a start to the season? Now, not any crazy stats here, just a home run and a solo home run there, and that's his only RBI. But he's obviously getting on base because, again, with a 1,278 OPS, that factors in, again, that on base percentage, slugging percentage, and they combine that. So it means he's getting his hits. He's getting extra base hits with that home run, and he's getting walks and getting on base. Now, Francisco Lindor is a notoriously slow starter, and his average wasn't as high, but he's got a 950 OPS, 2 triples to start. I think he only had, I don't know if I heard this on one of the broadcasts, one of the games I was watching, if he only had like 1 triple last year, if he didn't have any, or I don't remember, but he's already got 2 triples this year, the first week. Now, people would ask, okay, what about Juan Soto? Well, not a bad start here. 353 batting average with an 862 OPS, which is like average, but still 4 RBIs. Again, that 353 batting average is solid. Now, Jorge Polanco and Bo Bichette off to some tough starts. In fact, Bo Bichette started 1 for 14, even heard a smattering of some boos at Citi Field already. However, let's look at this, and you talk about the the percentages here and the speed velocities or whatever they're called. He did have 3 RBIs, and he did hit the ball hard on several occasions. So, yes, the average is not there yet. He had an RBI ground out the other day with like a 99-mile-an-hour exit velocity, and in the spring he was regularly
hitting ground out, 99 miles an hour.
Yes. So I mean, again, that's just bad luck, and he's got a high hard hit rate the last few years. He had 106 mile an hour exit velocity during spring training games. So again, 1 for 14, that's not a good start, but not as concerning because he is hitting the ball hard. Mm-hmm. And, again, Polanco struggling. Marcus Semien only off to a 143 batting average so far, although he does have 2 RBIs. Also, we talked last week about how Carson Bench got promoted to the team and one of their, highly touted rookies here. He had his first home run. So far, so good with him. Now, talking about pitchers, the Mets have some, you want to talk some stats and velocities and things like that. I'll get to that shortly. But let's talk about the starting pitching and the solid starting pitching that they're getting. Now, David Peterson was one of the most consistent starters they had last year. He had an excellent first start here, 5 1/3 innings, 6 hits, did not give up an earned run. Clay Holmes was a steady influence last year. He pitched 5 2/3 in his start the other day. Gave up 2 earned runs, 4 hits, 5 strikeouts, so nothing to complain about there. Here's somebody that's been in the talk as far as favorites in the potential Rookie of the Year conversation. I think he was 2 innings short last year of going over that, the minimum amount of innings before to be considered. I think the minimum, if you go past 50 innings in this season before, you can't be considered for Rookie of the Year. And I think he pitched 48 last year. So Nolan McLean, definitely in the running, and the first few names that we've heard mentioned before the season started anyway for Rookie of the Year. And he certainly did not hurt his cause here with 5 solid innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs in that game, 8 strikeouts. And those strikeouts came at some big times. I was able to watch that game that he was playing the other day and did very well. The only concerning start that the Mets might have had is they're the ace of the staff, opening day starter, a newcomer, Freddie Peralta. Not that he pitched horribly, but 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs. I mean, the Mets scored 11 runs in that game, so it didn't really matter. He did have 7 strikeouts there. So not a bad, not a horrible start, but I'm sure we'll see better from Freddie Peralta. Now, here's some interesting information from the bullpen here. The Mets have a reliever. His name is Tobias Myers. Now, he had incredible stats here, 4 1/3 innings pitched. He only gave up 1 hit, which was a home run, and he had 4 strikeouts there. Now, he has some nasty splitter. And I'm not too familiar with these. I dug in, did a little research on this. I read somewhere that this splitter has a 41.2% whiff rate, swing and a miss rate, and a 41.7% chase rate throughout the first few appearances. So I looked this up. Now, again, it's not a stat I'm that familiar with. What is the average for those categories? And it's about half of what I just said, like 41+%. Most pitchers average about 21 or 22%. So you want to talk about an effective pitch. I mean, they're saying this thing drops by about 1.3 inches. And again, when his chase rates and whiff rates are twice the average, this dude's doing something crazy. Now, also, the Mets, one of the big pickups, especially for the bullpen, was Devin Williams as their ace now in place of Edwin Diaz. He has a pitch. I saw this on Twitter yesterday. It's called the Airbender 2.0. All right. Now, his is not a splitter, but it is a changeup. Okay.
I told you about this Airbender changeup, Joe. I did.
You did. And I obviously apologize, Jamie, because I wasn't paying attention or wasn't paying enough attention here. Pretty incredible. And he does it again with the changeup. And it's, I read a quote here that StatCast data showing this pitch generating a, quote, extremely high number of swings and misses compared especially to other league-wide changeups. So, these guys are throwing some darn nasty pitches here. So far, very impressive coming out of the bullpen. So great stuff there. And again, Devin Williams pitched 2 scoreless innings, only gave up 1 hit and had 3 strikeouts. Now, some struggled in the bullpen. Luis Garcia, Richard Lovelady, each pitched 2 innings. Garcia gave up 5 runs and 5 earned runs in that time, and Lovelady gave up 4. So, we'll see what happens with them. Lovelady got the loss in the game against the Pirates there. So as we look ahead, we got the Cardinals tonight and tomorrow, and then they're going west. Just one series out there. It's a weird series, kind of a tough schedule for the Mets, as they're going to go to San Francisco for a 4-game series, And be careful with those Giants because they're going to be a little ticked off the way they were dominated by the Yankees. So it's going to be a tough 4-game series in San Francisco, and that'll end the week before they come back and start a home series against the Diamondbacks and then the A's, and then go back out west again. I think at some point in a week or so, I think not this weekend, but the following weekend, they're going to be playing the Dodgers out in LA. So already some big series coming up and some important series coming up. But can't argue with 3-1. Again, definitely look good so far. Solid pitching. Again, some good hitting, nothing totally impressive, but getting hits when they need to, and off certainly to a good start there. So that's basically what's going on with the Mets there so far, and hopefully they can keep up the excellent work.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, Joe, that's that. Guess what? The ironic thing is, the Yankees traded Jorge Vivas, a hitting prospect, to the Nationals for a pitching prospect, a 21-year-old rookie. He throws about 90 to 93, but he's got an airbender changer like Devin Williams, and he's doing it as a rookie.
Wow.
So they traded for a rookie version of him for the bullpen.
Yeah, and obviously this has been a thing for a while. Again, you mentioned it, and again, I wasn't listening well enough, and I'm sure other people around the league were mentioning this too. Now I didn't get to see Devin Williams pitch the other day, but I'm very curious to see this. And again, I'm very curious to see Tobias Myers pitch and see that nasty splitter. I might have caught him the one game where he did that, and again, maybe not just paying enough attention, but certainly will be now.
Yes, it was weird because remember at the beginning of the year, Devin Williams was horrible. He was blowing a bunch of saves with the airbender changer. And then when they put him as a setup guy, he did a lot better. It was weird. He couldn't do as well as the closer.
Right.
But sounds like he isn't doing that bad with the Mets, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, he's off to a good start. He got a save. And again, those,
I think the airbender. No, I mean it's nasty when it works. Like nobody can hit that because nobody ever saw it before.
Right. And so far, 3 strikeouts in 2 innings. So, it's something's working.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's back over to me. So guess what? No way, Jose. The Yanks' new utility man is starting to pay off. The Tampa Bay Rays traded Jose Caballero to the New York Yankees last season, and it looked like the Yankees would rue the day they even traded for him. But 2 games into 2026, and Caballero is making Cashman look like he acquired a more older Oswaldo Cabrera. Even though we like Oswaldo Cabrera, he's starting in AAA in his rehab, and I can't wait till he comes back. It's going to be interesting to see. But anyway, in Friday's 3-0 win against the Giants, he went 2 for 4 with a swiped bag. Swiper, no swiping. Anyway, it's only a small sample size, but at least he's hitting the ball for average and playing better defense than Anthony Volpe ever was when healthy. The 29-year-old completed last season with 49 stolen bases and a 97 WRC plus. We have a quote. Aaron Boone said it plainly before the season opened per at NewJersey.com. Cabby's a really good player. He does a lot of things that help you win games. I feel really confident with him defensively being able to hold it down, but also with a lot of intangible different things he brings to the table offensively and on the base paths. Anyway, Caballero wouldn't be playing right now hadn't Volpe was injured, but context matters as the Yankees have to manage Caballero until Volpe is healthy again. Or they don't have to, though. But
right.
Volpe had arthroscopic labral repair on his left shoulder in October after playing with a slight tear that didn't help him have a great 2025 season. His OPS slipped from 768 pre-injury to only 652 post-injury.
That's a big drop.
It is a very huge drop, especially with a make-or-break player like him, like Volpe. Anyway, Cashman said afterward that the surgery ended up being more severe than the MRI originally reported. Volpe will return, which would change Caballero's current role, but that can be they can deal with that in May. Yeah, let's not think about that right now. Anyway, so Joe, how has Caballero been able to take advantage of every opportunity with wounded Anthony Volpe?
I guess that partially remains to be seen. You know, what kind of a start is he off to, did you say?
Oh, Caballero?
Yeah. Or did you say? You know, his play on the field in the meantime, during Volpe's absence, obviously will answer that question best, I would say. I'm just curious as to what his stats are now, if you have it. If not, no big deal.
I don't, but you know what also helped is he played in the World Baseball Classic for Panama and had a decent showing there.
Okay.
So, and also, how do you think they deal with Caballero's role come May if or when Volpe returns?
Yeah, a lot depends on how Volpe can contribute immediately too. You know, I definitely think he's still going to get some time because even when Volpe returns, I think anyway, I don't know if the Yankees will do this, but you got to kind of break him in a little slowly, and it's going to take him some time to get going too. So, you know, unless Volpe's tearing the cover off the ball immediately after he gets back, I think you're going to still need, the other individual there. To still get his at-bats and make his contributions there. So we'll see. And then, of course, if Volpe struggles, then he continues to get more playing time there.
Yeah, but guess what? You know who's also benefiting from this more than Caballero?
Who's that?
George Lombard Jr. down in the minors. Because he came on last year, making his way up to Double-A from Single-A at just 20 years old, and this year he's starting at Double-A, trying to make it to Triple-A, and who knows, maybe he gets a September call up at the end of the year, or next year he starts at Triple-A and gets called up at the beginning of next year and finally makes his debut. That means Volpe may be on the way out, and we could have Caballero and Lombard Jr. as the shortstops.
Yeah, it sounds like you mentioned last week. I remember that you kind of have a feeling that Volpe is on his way out.
I do.
And especially, again, if these guys contribute and, make contributions and Volpe doesn't, well, and even if he does, again, unless he's having an MVP type season, I would agree with you. I don't see him coming back, if these guys reach their potential.
And then, like I said, if George Lombard Jr. gets called up, they have another shortstop prospect that can, work on his development. Dax Kirby, I think his name is. They took him last year from Clemson in the draft in the first round. So
they got plenty of depth there. So if that's the case, no need to overpay somebody that is not contributing. I mean, that's
right.
Only
and guess what, Joe? Like I said, Anthony Volpe can only play shortstop. He's not a modern day, he can only play shortstop, but Caballero can also play second and third. George Lombard Jr. can also play second and third, and Dax Kirby can play second and third besides shortstop. So that's the thing. I wonder if Volpe could be out because, like I said, he can only play one position, but Kirby, Lombard Jr., and Caballero can play more than just shortstop, all three of them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Kind of like, remember, it's why they got rid of Gleyber Torres, because remember they wanted him to be a utility guy in the outfield. They wanted him to play second base, and he didn't want to. He just wanted to play second base, and they let him go because of that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, a lot of these managers now, they want a lot of these, utility type of players that can play short, second, and third because of the injuries. Now you want that the versatility out in the field like that now.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And anyway, here we go. So Joe, are the Yankees obsessed with the new ABS system? Mariah Carey would be singing, "Why you so obsessed with me?" Anyway, Yankees, I wanna know. Anyway, Aaron Judge believes the New York Yankees fell into the ocean, meaning they went overboard while preparing for the MLB's new automated ball strike system. I think a lot of teams may have done that, not just the Yankees. The Dodgers may have went overboard too, but anyway, manager Aaron Boone admits he's a little jumpy about it all, especially last night because there were a couple times where even though the Yankees overturned and got the call right, Aaron Boone was still yelling at the umpire to call it right to begin with. You know how he is, right? And some of the Yankees players were they were still thinking like it was the old system where you could argue with the ump. It's like Aaron Boone. It's like, shut up, you're getting the call right. It's like you can't argue with that anymore because it's it's a machine,
right?
But anyway, here's the funny thing though. And if you thought CB Buckner was bad, where like 8 of his calls were overturned in that game. 7 challenges of calls by plate umpire Chad Whitson, all were overturned. 6 by San Francisco, 3 for the Yankees.
That's why I can't wait for the day where every pitch is ABS. I'll say it every week on this show, and I mean it. I can't wait till every single call is just ABS.
And then all the umpires have to do is just say if the batter's out or safe or infield fly rule or things like that, or just call it people are out,
Yeah, plays at the plate and fair balls and stuff like that. But yeah, just let the machine call all the balls and strikes because these guys are just getting worse. And
it's
that's why
kind of like the NFL now. Did you see what they did? They approved a rule with the replacement refs coming in, but they may make it permanent. It's going to be a centralized replay system where the refs upstairs can actually correct an obvious call missed by the refs in football. So you're probably going to love that too if they really do that.
Definitely.
So that's basically going to be the MLB's the NFL's version of the ABS right there. So that's what's cool about it. Anyway, but back to baseball. It's not September yet.
No, but I'm saying, you know what, Jamie, it could work because you want to talk about a different sport, and we may have mentioned this before, tennis. I've started watching tennis again after I hadn't watched it in a few years. Every single call is automated. And
yeah. Just think, John McEnroe would have a hard time playing now because remember he played before that, so he could argue that. I don't think they wouldn't allow him to do that now because you have the automated call. Although I wonder if John McEnroe is one of those people he would still fight with the automated call,
right? With the machine, right?
Yeah, that's how Aaron Boone is basically now.
Yeah.
Or like Tommy Lasorda would have still argued with the machine because he was an old school guy. But anyway, we have a quote here. We had too many meetings about it, in my opinion, said Judge. And I made a joke saying we even had a meeting with Aaron Boone to try to calm him down because it's a machine and you can't argue with the machine. I'm just joking, but they should. Anyway, said Judge, the 2-time reigning AL MVP who grounded out his first at bat Saturday. Judge challenged what was originally called strike 2 by plate umpire Chad Fairchild on an 86-mile-an-hour slider from Robbie Ray in the 6th inning, and it was overturned by the robo-ump. And we have another quote here. I thought the call was going to stand, so it was a close one there. Judge said, you get in a better count, but I still have a job to do, especially with Goldie, Paul Goldschmidt, out there on second base to drive him in. New York went 2 for 3 in challenging opportunities through the first 3 games of the series, while the Giants were 2 games of the series, while the Giants were 1 for 2, 50%. Then Jazz Chisholm Jr.'s called third strike in the second against Tyler Mahal was confirmed when he challenged. Boone believes the new system will benefit the Yankees as they produced the second lowest chase rate last year at 25.6%, just a schlittle more than the Brewers as per Sports Radar. Are you surprised with that? The Yankees having the second lowest chase rate? Because you know how they always seem to have a bunch of guys that like to swing for the fences, but that's impressive in this
That
day
does
and age,
surprise
especially
me.
for a team like the Yankees.
Mm-hmm. Although they
So-
got some veteran hitters there that know how to hit, so I guess in a way it doesn't surprise me, but yeah, definitely in a way it does.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so we have another quote. That's my expectation, he said, Aaron Boone. We poured a lot into it. I feel like our team makeup should lend itself to this being a good thing in us and an advantage for us, but that's not a given either. We got to continue to evolve with it and learn from it, and hopefully it is something that is a strength. And we have a quote. It is an adjustment period for Judge, but he's going to pick his spot carefully to tap his helmet and signal the 12 Hawkeye cameras to make the call. We have a quote. Weird, he said, it's part of the game, but you got to get used to it. I'm a hitter. I've got to focus on hitting. I'm not going to try to sit here and challenge every single one I think is close. But if there's a big spot where I think I got a chance to flip the count, I'm going to do it. I still got to go up there and do my job as a hitter. So, Joe, what do you think of the Yankees over preparing for this ABS robot ump system that should benefit them, especially for Aaron Judge?
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it over preparing. It's just kind of knowing how it works and just figuring out very quickly how to use that system. It's very interesting too. I was watching one of the games and watching one of the Met games, and they were talking about how you have to make this a real team situation. There was a guy like the team, the Pirates, I think, were running low on challenges, and a batter challenged a pitch that probably he really shouldn't have challenged, right? It was not like an obvious miss. And then the next batter, because he challenged and I think I don't know if he missed the challenge. I don't remember. Or I think he did. And they only had they had one less challenge. And there was a batter after him that had a more questionable pitch, wanted to challenge it, but didn't challenge it because they had one less. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if the batter before him had not challenged, the next batter would have been able to without having to worry that they were going to run out and that kind of thing. So you're going to have to, they were talking about possibly managers like telling certain batters, look, you can't challenge. We're not going to let you challenge, especially if they keep getting these wrong. And I haven't seen anybody that screwed a bunch of them up yet, but it's interesting that managers may tell certain players, we don't want you to do that. Just wait, let somebody else do it. Unless it's like a totally.
It's exactly what I say, Joe, with the NFL. Don't challenge it unless you 100% know, unless you know 100% that the official got it wrong to begin with.
Right. And it is a matter of taking your teammates into account. If I have a borderline one that I don't know if I should challenge it, and it's, the fourth inning, okay, let me just, even if I think maybe the umpire was wrong, let me just eat it and move on with the at bat, because my other teammates might have a situation later in the game where they're going to need that challenge more than I needed it. So I have to take my teammates into account too. And these players are going to have to learn to do that. And it was a very interesting conversation that the Mets announcers were having. And I'm sure other announcing groups are having the same conversation, and teams themselves are having these same conversations. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this evolves throughout this next season. Now, again, I think we're ultimately going to get to a point where it's all automatic, but at least for these seasons that we have, either this one or ones beyond it, that it's this challenge system. Going to be very interesting to see how teams learn to use it. Very kind of, like with the clock. But I think this is even going to be more strategic, if you ask me. So it'll be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, Joe, it is now that time in our show for a question of the week segment. Would you like to give it a try? We were going to get to it last week, but we ran out of time. We finally get to do it this week.
All right. Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Okay, Joe. So here's the first question. Your first question of season 3 of the Subway Conversation Chat. A week late, but we got to it. What player in MLB history has the most home runs by a catcher? Is it Salvi Perez, Mike Piazza, Gary Carter, Johnny Bench?
I believe, I think I know this. I am going to go with Mike Piazza.
You're correct. It was Mike Piazza with 396 career home runs as a catcher.
Yep. I didn't think you mentioned Sal Perez. I was thinking, did Sal go ahead of him? But I didn't think so. Piazza, I was pretty sure about that one.
Mm-hmm. Correct. You got how about that? You got in on the first show. Well, should have been last week, but at least this week you got it. You got the first one right. So
that's all right. I think last year it took me about 4 shows to get one right. So I'll take one. I'll take a 1-0 start.
Golf clap. Anyway, well, it looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you in this social media, AI, tech savvy world on Tuesday, March 31st, 2026? The last show and the last day of March.
And I can't believe 2026 is a quarter over already. Kind of hard to believe, but you could find me on Joe Dal Sports, which is on Twitter X, talking about some of the stats there and sharing some of the information we got here, putting it on there as well. So that's trying to build that page up. So please visit Joe Dal Sports at Twitter X.
Yep. And then you can find me, yours truly, on Bills Chat 1 at Bills Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dog Tags on X, BuffaloDown.com, and theforkball.com, where I write about all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, comment, ring the bell for all notifications. For more sports news on Driving to the Top Productions, you can find us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, wherever you get your podcasts. For Joe Dalio and all of us here on the Subway Conversation Chat, I'm Jamie Malloy, and this has been another episode of the Subway Conversation Chat here on Driving to the Top Productions. See you next week, everybody. Good night.
Have a great week.